gotta use some Tic Tacs, you know? Just in case I start kissing her. It's like a magnet. I'm just attracted to beautiful. It's like, just kiss, I don't even wait. When you're a star, they'll let you do it. I mean, you can do anything. Grab them by the pussy, you can do anything. Yeah, grab them all while you can, Donald. You know, nobody made it to the top without breaking a few pieces of china. I just want to feel safe, you know? Get all the bad people out of this country. I might support Donald, but I'm not racist or anything. Like, my baby cousin Tracy got a brother, and his girlfriend is black, so you're just out on the street selling weed and liquor, and then you complain about the poverty rate. Trump will fix that. You know, the climate change won't affect anyone until like 2080. Who will be alive in 2080 anyways? Trump's supporters do not support him for his political views, rather for him. They just like him for what he says, whether it's true or not. How did this come to be? Well, social media is the answer. Donald Trump took advantage of this huge fan base that he got from being a celebrity, and he took advantage of it to get across to millions of people. Would it not be easier if just we could support politicians for their political views instead of because they're entertaining or because our consciousness told us to support them? There are no rules when it comes to social media in comparison to politics. But this is not the only way he came to power. All politicians manipulate us in some way or another. This is especially shown in Trump's campaign. Okay, this is a little bad quality, but there is something really weird about this picture. 3 of the visible posters in this picture state, "Women for Trump." Isn't this a little weird? As the one thing Trump talks most negatively about, right before racism, is women. All the homemade signs and random people that you see behind a candidate when they're speaking during an election, they're not random. They're carefully placed there by the campaigning team in order to attract different kinds of people. You see only what the candidate wants you to see. It very rarely happens that a candidate is caught out doing or saying something that they don't want to be put light on. It's very easy for a politician to control their own media pages. However, this is not the only news they control. Every single news conference is planned in order for a politician not to be put in a bad light. And it's normally arranged for the politician to advertise on his campaign. This whole idea of the media seeking truth is just becoming more and more faded. All politicians advertise just over social media, just like other ads. The goal is not to tell the entire truth about the campaign or its product, but rather to sell. Would it not be better if we could all vote based on what we believe in, instead of being manipulated into voting for something that will not benefit us? There was once an easier time when there was no social media. And when I'm saying this, I'm not talking about 100 years back, but rather less than 20 years ago. There was no social media, and of course there was still some manipulation back then. However, it was nowhere near as bad as it is today. We are growing up in the worst possible time for voting. There is so much pressure on us for making a change, whilst we're being manipulated into voting for the people that do not make this change possible. I want you to be able to vote for what you believe in, and for the betterment of all of us, instead of having factors affecting you. A study by Marcus Shepard found that, or he looked at school children and university children, so you guys in comparison to university children, and found that you guys are much more malleable, meaning that whenever you're exposed to information, you're more likely to change your opinion. And this is what the politicians play at, because you guys are next up to vote. You might not think about it that way, but in a few years you will also vote. You will choose where this country is going. Okay, so when you think about how people are trying to change others' opinions, I'm not talking about politics, no politicians. I'm talking about you guys. If you're having a debate, you would think that how they're trying to do this is by posting a well-supported argument, discussing both sides. But in reality, most of them look like this. You should avoid these statements, even though they might come across as intimidating and sometimes powerful. This also counts for when you're making a statement yourself. Even though they might seem stupid, they do work on your consciousness. I know that there are very few politically engaged people in this crowd. And when I'm saying politically engaged, I do not mean like being a part of Unge Høyre. I mean like staying updated. Most of you probably don't know much about what's going on in Norwegian politics right now. And I can say that I didn't know very much until this year either. All the information that is given to you is through social media, where if you're being honest, your social media mostly consists of satisfying videos and TikToks. So how do you know what to vote for? I can imagine that some of you will probably like take a quiz from an NRK survey that will tell you what you should vote for, and then you go with it. Okay, I mean, it's a little more useful than taking a BuzzFeed quiz about what Kardashian you are. But this is still all the information that you get. So how do you really know what to vote for? Well, I want you guys to look into the political parties that you find interesting and find whoever shares your values. And I want you to vote for whoever will benefit the society and not which one is the most entertaining. If everyone were to vote for the betterment of society, we would achieve a better society. I did not know very much about politics before MI5, and my knowledge is still quite limited, but I found something that I found interesting, and I looked into it, and I spoke out. So what I'm about to show you is not the best artwork, and it's not my proudest artwork, but this is my contribution to protest art against Sylvi Listhaug. So Sylvi Listhaug, she said some things that resulted in quite big consequences. And her only defense was, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Well, as you can see in the background, that's where I tried to illustrate the consequences of what she said through Facebook. She ruined careers. And I was very aggravated by both her statements and her defense. Therefore, I chose to speak out on this. And all that I really want you guys to do is just look into parties. Vote for the people that you believe will make this society better. With the Middle East right now, starvation, poverty, and the start of a potential Cold War in America, a change has to be made. And in contrary to what people tell you, you do not have to make this change. You just have to make sure that the right people are in charge in order to make this change. So I have a little 5-step process that could be useful when trying to stay away from unnecessary information. I call it the 5 Fs. So the first F being foul. This is a censored comment, but it gives you the idea of what a foul statement would look like. These posts get people very aggravated, thereby involving them in a very unnecessary debate that will plant ideas inside their head, even though they might not agree with them. Avoid being foul and avoid foul statements. The second F is false. So when it loads in, you can see 2 examples of false statements. So, okay, you might come across 1 or 2 Scots that are anti-English. This does not mean that all 5 million of them are anti-English. This is also the case in many other things right now, where a small group of people can change how the whole group is being viewed, like the Muslims. This is a very big problem right now. You should avoid false statements and don't get fooled by them. So always cross-check your information, and if you find something that's really juicy, then make sure to look into it. Find what other people have to say about it, and find how much truth there is in that statement. So the third F is foggy. So foggy basically means a term that is very unclear or people can't understand it. Always look into something you find foggy, because it might not mean anything, or it might mean something that you wouldn't catch the first time reading it. The example I have here is Gethume. So this is basically just a word created by a rapper. Most of his fans do know what it means. It's like, I can say that I'm in the next Gethume of thinking. So if I'm in a debate and I say, I'm right because I know better, as I'm in the next Gethume of political thinking, most of you would probably not understand anything of what that means, and it's not a well-supported argument. Avoid foggy terms, and if you're reading an article and find something that's foggy, either just don't care about that information, or look into it and find what it means. The fourth F is flannel, and this is very annoying. It's when someone keeps restating the same thing over and over, not really ever adding to the debate. And if you're reading an article and you find just the same thing being restated over and over, it's clear to see that it's their only well-supported argument. Avoid this. The fifth F is flaming. So this is a very unprofessional way of expressing an opinion, as it's just trying to come out as loud and intimidating. This is basically just including lots of uppercase letters, exclamation marks, question marks, and instead of actually supporting your opinion with actual facts, they just try and come out as loud. So the message here is that I want you to keep things being viewed from both sides. Always cross-check your information, and don't get personal. By getting personal and offending people, it won't help for the best of us. So basically, just stay to professional sources, cross-check your information, and vote for what you believe in. Thank you.